If you're a man over 65 and you've been feeling like your engine just doesn't fire up the way it used to, I want you to know something important. It's not all in your head, and it's not just getting old. Maybe your mornings feel sluggish, your drive is missing, or your confidence has started to fade, not because you've lost the will, but because your body has quietly started working against you. I've seen it time and time again. Men who still have the fire inside, but whose bodies aren't getting the fuel they need to keep that fire burning. And here's the good news. It's not permanent. It's not hopeless. It's fixable. I'm Dr. Elliot Nash, a men's vitality advisor and holistic wellness coach with more than 28 years helping men past 65 reclaim energy, performance, and connection. What I've discovered after working with thousands of patients is that many of the challenges you're facing don't begin with testosterone or your heart or even your mind. They begin at the cellular level, with nutrient gaps so common, so widespread, that they've become invisible. You don't see them. Your doctor might not even test for them, but your body feels every ounce of what it's missing. Today, we're going to expose what I call the silent vitamin crisis, 3 powerful but often overlooked nutrients that have the ability to restore blood flow, revitalize your energy, and rebalance your masculine edge naturally. These are not miracle cures or trendy pills. They are foundational vitamins that most men your age are unknowingly deficient in. The problem isn't that they're hard to find, it's that no one is talking about them the way we need to. So here's what we'll cover in this video. First, I'll walk you through each of these 3 key vitamins, explaining how they support circulation, stamina, and hormone balance. You'll meet real men, like Thomas, a 71-year-old jazz musician who thought his performance days were over, and Leon, a 68-year-old chess coach whose mind was sharp, but body was stuck in neutral. They turned things around with the right support, and so can you. Then I'll share the #1 mistake most men make when taking supplements that actually blocks results. Something I bet you've done without realizing it. And finally, I'll guide you step by step through a simple, sustainable routine that you can start tonight to get your strength, confidence, and drive back. But first, let's dive into the root cause of why you might be feeling like a shadow of the man you used to be. And it starts with a vitamin that literally powers your ability to move blood, oxygen, and energy through your body, vitamin K2. Surprised? You're not alone. Vitamin K2 is the unsung hero of male aging. While everyone's talking about calcium, heart health, or bone density, hardly anyone is talking about where calcium goes in your body. And that's what makes K2 a game changer. You see, without K2, calcium can build up in the wrong places, your arteries, your joints, your soft tissues, clogging circulation and making you feel heavy, stiff, or slow. But with K2, that same calcium gets directed to your bones, where it belongs. It keeps your vessels clear, your blood flowing, and your energy accessible. I had a patient once, Martin, a retired wildlife photographer in his early 70s. He came in complaining of constant fatigue and this strange sensation of tightness in his chest. Not pain, but pressure. His heart tests came back normal. His labs looked okay, but he still felt off. What we found was a massive K2 deficiency, which had been slowly calcifying his arteries over time. Within 8 weeks of adding a high-quality K2 supplement alongside dietary changes, his blood pressure dropped, his energy improved, and he told me he could finally walk his dog up a hill again without feeling winded. K2 is found in foods like fermented soy, natto, certain cheeses and grass-fed dairy, but most American diets lack enough of these to meet daily needs, especially as we age. Supplementing with the MK7 form of K2 can dramatically improve vascular health and support testosterone indirectly by enhancing blood flow to critical areas. Think of it like this. Without K2, your plumbing clogs. With it, you flow freely again. And when blood flows well, everything works better. Now, is vitamin K2 a magic bullet? No, but it's a missing link. And without it, your body can't fully absorb the benefits of the other 2 vitamins we're about to cover. Let's keep going. If vitamin K2 helps keep your blood vessels clean and clear, allowing your body to transport oxygen and nutrients more efficiently, then the next piece of the puzzle is about what happens once those nutrients actually reach your cells. Because here's the truth. Even if blood is flowing, even if you're eating well, exercising and getting decent sleep, your body still needs the ability to transform that fuel into energy. And that process, the one that gives you strength, mental clarity and stamina, it lives inside your mitochondria. And your mitochondria, they run on vitamin B1, also known as thiamine. Now I know vitamin B1 doesn't get a lot of attention. It doesn't sound sexy. It's not trendy. But it might just be the most overlooked key to male vitality, especially for men over 65. Why? Because thiamine is essential for converting carbohydrates into usable energy at the cellular level. Without enough of it, your cells sputter, your muscles tire faster, your brain slows down, and that spark you once felt, in your thoughts, in your movement, in your drive, dims quietly, sometimes without you even noticing it. I remember a client, Julian, 76 years old, a retired mechanic who used to rebuild engines with his bare hands, strong, stubborn, and proud. He came into my office with one complaint. "Doc, I feel like I'm living in slow motion." He'd walk into a room and forget why. He'd start a project and lose the will halfway through. Even intimacy with his partner had become more of a memory than a desire. And yet, he wasn't depressed. He wasn't sick. He just wasn't on anymore. We ran a micronutrient test and sure enough, Julian was severely deficient in thiamine. Years of a low-variety diet and over-reliance on processed carbs had drained his B1 levels. We started a protocol, simple supplementation with benfotiamine, a fat-soluble form of B1 that penetrates tissues more efficiently, combined with cutting down sugar and increasing whole grains, asparagus, and green peas. Within a few weeks, Julian was back in my office, but this time standing taller. "I feel like someone reconnected my battery," he told me, and I believed him. See, the thing about B1 is that it's not just about energy in a vague sense. It directly fuels the nerves, brain, and heart. It affects reaction time, alertness, and how fast your muscles recover after effort. When you're low, it's like trying to run a race with water in your gas tank. But when your B1 levels are restored, it's like someone hit the ignition switch again. You're not just awake, you're present, powerful, and clear. Now here's something most men don't know. As we age, our bodies become less efficient at absorbing water-soluble vitamins like thiamine. Add to that the fact that many older adults reduce their carb intake, which isn't bad in itself, and suddenly B1 gets sidelined. Add in common medications, like diuretics or heart pills, and your levels can tank faster than you realize. And unlike some nutrients that show obvious symptoms when low, B1 deficiency is sneaky. It creeps in as brain fog, irritability, fatigue, and low motivation. Things we chalk up to aging or stress, but which are actually fixable. Another example, a man named Dale, 69, former school bus driver, widowed, living alone. His kids had started expressing concern. He was sleeping more, skipping meals, losing interest in his usual hobbies. They feared early cognitive decline. But once we checked his nutrient panel, we found the issue. Again, thiamine. Within weeks of correcting his deficiency, Dale was calling his grandkids again, cooking his favorite chili, and volunteering at the community center. What changed wasn't just his body, it was his ability to connect, to feel like himself again. That's the power of B1. So if you're watching this and thinking, "This sounds like me," don't ignore that. Your body whispers before it screams. Energy loss is not always a sign of aging. It's often a cry for nutritional support. And when your cells can finally convert fuel into energy again, that sluggishness lifts, that brain fog clears, and that quiet frustration inside you gets replaced by momentum. Real, usable, live-again energy. Now let me say something important here. The goal of this video isn't to throw a list of supplements at you. It's to help you build understanding and confidence so that you can take meaningful action. Thiamine, like K2, isn't magic by itself, but when combined with the right support system, it becomes part of a larger comeback story, one that belongs to you. And before we move on to the third vitamin, which is all about balancing masculinity, hormone support, and emotional strength, I want to ask you for two small but important things. First, if this content is speaking to you, if you're nodding along and thinking, wow, someone finally gets it, then go ahead and subscribe to this channel. But not just to help us grow. Subscribe so you don't miss the next time your health, your energy, or your confidence is on the line. We're building something here for men like you, who still want to live fully, love deeply, and lead with strength. You belong here. Second, I want to invite you to interact with this video in a way that's not about algorithms or trends. I want to hear from you, man to man. What's one thing your body used to do easily that you'd love to feel again? Was it walking without getting tired, staying sharp through a full day, being spontaneous with your partner? Share it below in the comments. You never know who else needs to hear they're not alone, and you might just inspire another man to take his first step toward healing. Let's now talk about something deeper, something many men feel but rarely talk about, that slow erosion of drive. Not just sexual drive, but ambition, clarity, courage, and emotional strength. Maybe you've felt it, a dulling of your edge. You're still you, but some days it's like you're watching yourself from the sidelines. That fire you once carried, the one that helped you lead, protect, build, it's flickering. And the worst part, you can't quite explain why. This, my friend, is where vitamin A steps in. Yes, the same vitamin people think is just for eyesight, but what most don't realize is that vitamin A is also a hormonal regulator, an immune guardian, and a foundational player in testosterone production. Without enough of it, your body struggles to produce the very hormones that define masculinity, those that influence mood, libido, muscle strength, and even your ability to take initiative. I once worked with a man named Curtis. He was 73, a former airplane technician, and proud of his precision and discipline. But when he came into my office, he wasn't himself. He described feeling disconnected, not just from his wife, but from life. "Doc," he said, "I wake up, eat, sit, sleep. Nothing excites me. It's like the colors of life have faded into beige." His labs, not terrible. Testosterone slightly low, but not alarming. Cholesterol normal. He ate relatively well, but something was missing. We dug deeper. His beta-carotene intake was high, plenty of carrots, sweet potatoes, and leafy greens, but his body wasn't converting it into active vitamin A efficiently. This happens more often than people think, especially as we age. Genetics, gut health, and medication history all affect the conversion process. What Curtis needed wasn't more carrots. He needed retinol, the preformed bioavailable version of vitamin A, found in liver, eggs, and certain supplements. Within 6 weeks of adding a small daily dose of retinol-based vitamin A, the change was visible, not just physically, but emotionally. His posture improved. His eyes were brighter. He started a woodworking project he'd been putting off for years. His wife later told me, "It's like his voice came back." That's what vitamin A can do, not just support your vision, but restore your vision of yourself. Let me be clear. Vitamin A doesn't replace testosterone, but it does help your body produce and regulate it more effectively. It nourishes the testes, supports pituitary function, and reduces chronic inflammation, all critical to hormonal health. And when testosterone rises to healthy levels, so does a man's sense of confidence, clarity, and assertiveness. Another client, Ibrahim, a 66-year-old former pastry chef, used to describe himself as too soft. He didn't mean physically. He meant emotionally. He'd lost his sense of grounded masculinity. He found himself avoiding confrontation, saying yes when he meant no, and pulling away from his wife because he didn't feel present enough. His words, not mine, "I feel more like a faded version of the man I promised her I'd be." We addressed his gut health, adjusted his routines, and introduced vitamin A-rich foods like cod liver, egg yolks, and full-fat dairy. Slowly but steadily, his voice deepened. Not in sound, but in tone. He started setting boundaries again. He reconnected with his wife, not just in the bedroom, but in conversation, laughter, and shared space. That's the thing. Hormones don't just drive arousal. They drive identity. But let's talk facts. Over 40% of older adults have some form of subclinical vitamin A deficiency, either through poor absorption, poor conversion, or limited intake. And because the symptoms are subtle, fatigue, dry skin, mood swings, reduced libido, they're often mistaken for normal aging. That's why so many men go years feeling like something's off, without knowing where to look. But now you know, and that gives you an edge. Now, I want you to imagine something. Imagine these three vitamins, K2 for circulation, B1 for energy, and A for hormonal balance, working together like a three-cylinder engine. One drives flow, one powers the system, one ignites the will. When they're all present, your body starts remembering what it was built for: resilience, connection, strength, and joy. Not just survival, vitality. But here's the kicker. These vitamins only work when you give them the rhythm they need. This isn't a one-time fix. This is daily nourishment. Gentle, steady, intentional. A walk outside, a handful of nuts, a high-quality supplement with your morning water. It's not about doing everything. It's about doing the right things consistently enough to let your body rebuild what time has eroded. Because that's the truth, isn't it? Time doesn't break us. It just slowly unravels the systems that once held us together. But with the right support, we can reweave those threads. We can feel solid again. Not like boys chasing youth, but like men reclaiming presence. And that brings us to the second half of this journey. Now that you've seen how these three vitamins support your biology, we need to talk about the one mistake that blocks all of this from working. A mistake most men make without realizing it, one that can sabotage even the best intentions. So far, we've uncovered three foundational vitamins: K2 for circulation, B1 for energy, and A for hormonal strength. Each one plays a crucial role in helping you restore what time and stress have quietly taken. But now, we need to confront something that's keeping far too many men stuck, even after they've learned what to take. Let me tell you a story. A few months ago, a man named Peter, age 70, former radio technician, meticulous and well-read, came into my office with a backpack full of supplements. Literally, he unzipped it, pulled out bottle after bottle, and lined them up on my desk like a soldier laying out his gear. "I've been taking all this for a year," he said, "but I don't feel any different. My sleep is terrible. I still get winded walking my dog, and I can't remember the last time I really wanted to be close to my wife." His frustration was written all over his face. Now, Peter wasn't lazy. He wasn't ignorant. He had the right vitamins, but they weren't working. Why? Because he was making three critical mistakes. Mistakes I see constantly in men trying to take control of their health. If you're supplementing and still not seeing results, chances are you're making one of them too. So let's break them down. The first mistake is using synthetic or poorly absorbed forms of vitamins. Not all supplements are created equal. In fact, many of the cheapest ones lining the shelves at big box stores or on discount websites are made with forms that your body struggles to absorb, especially after 60. Take vitamin B1, for example. Peter was taking thiamine hydrochloride, a basic water-soluble form that, while technically B1, wasn't making it into his cells efficiently. Older adults often have lower stomach acid, which impairs absorption. What he needed was benphotiamine or thiamine pyrophosphate, two forms that bypass digestive limitations and deliver real, measurable energy. Once we switched him over, he noticed improvements within 2 weeks. Or take vitamin K2. Peter's supplement used K1, which is great for blood clotting, but doesn't do much for arterial health. The form that protects your heart and boosts testosterone-related circulation is K2 in the MK7 subtype, ideally derived from natto and ideally fermented. When he made that switch, he felt lighter on his feet, and his resting blood pressure improved. Even vitamin A was problematic. His label said vitamin A, but it was mostly beta-carotene, which his body wasn't converting into active retinol efficiently. Once we moved him to a supplement with preformed retinol, the kind your body uses directly, he finally started noticing mood improvements and better sleep. Same vitamin on the label, different impact inside your body. Now here's the second mistake: inconsistency. Your body is like a garden. You can't water it once a week and expect a harvest. You can't take your supplements only on days you remember or only when you're feeling off. Healing happens in rhythm. The body is a pattern-seeking machine. If you give it what it needs daily, it builds momentum. If you're hit or miss, the benefits stay out of reach. Peter, like many men, had a kitchen drawer full of half-empty bottles. He admitted that he'd go 3 or 4 days without taking anything, then double up trying to catch up. That doesn't work. Vitamins don't function like aspirin. They don't fix symptoms in the moment. They build up over time, nourish systems, restore balance, and that only happens with consistency. So I gave Peter a simple rule: pair your supplements with a daily habit you already never skip. For him, it was his morning cup of tea. He lined up his quality supplements by the kettle and never missed a beat again. And now, the third and most damaging mistake: ignoring lifestyle synergy. Supplements are not magical. They are support systems, but they need the right environment to thrive. If you're taking vitamin B1 but drinking alcohol daily, your B1 gets depleted. If you're taking K2 but not moving your body, your circulation won't improve. If you're taking vitamin A but not getting good fats in your diet to absorb it, you're wasting your time. Peter's diet was low-fat. He had been avoiding fats for years, believing it was best for his heart. But vitamin A is fat-soluble. Without dietary fat, like eggs, avocados, olive oil, he couldn't absorb it. We tweaked his meals to include healthy fats, and suddenly his supplements started working. Now, I want to pause here and speak to you man to man. You're not failing. You're not broken. If you've been trying and not seeing results, it's not because you're lazy or unlucky. It's because the wellness industry has failed to teach you the how. It sold you labels, but didn't give you the system. And I get it. It's overwhelming. So many options. So much noise. That's why I always go back to this mantra: right form, right dose, right rhythm, right support. If one of those is missing, your body can't do its job. But when all 4 align, the results are often remarkable. I've seen men like Peter transform subtly at first, sleeping deeper, laughing more, reaching for their spouse's hand again, wanting to take on projects they'd shelved years ago. Not because of a miracle pill, but because they finally gave their body what it had been quietly asking for. And now that you know how to avoid the mistakes, we can talk about something exciting: how to pull all of this together into a realistic, effective, and sustainable daily routine. That's what we'll explore next. No fads, no gimmicks. Just a grounded daily rhythm to support strength, intimacy, and joy. If you've made it this far, you already know more than 90% of men your age about the 3 foundational vitamins that fuel circulation, energy, and masculine identity: K2, B1, and A. But now comes the most important part: how to make this stick. Because knowledge without routine is like a map you never follow. What matters is integration, making health a lived experience, not just a theory. When most men come to me asking for help, what they really want isn't a long list of pills. They want simplicity. They want something they can do daily without feeling like they're becoming a full-time pharmacist. So, let me tell you about Howard. Howard is 74. He used to manage a train station in a small town outside Des Moines. Detail-oriented, punctual, the kind of man who never missed a sunrise. But when he came to me, his body wasn't matching his mindset. "Doc," he said, "I still want to do things. I just run out of gas halfway through the day." Howard wasn't broken. He was underpowered. We didn't give him 20 new supplements or sign him up for some 4-hour morning ritual. We built him a protocol so simple, so grounded, that it blended into his life like a favorite pair of boots. Let me walk you through what we did, so you can adapt it to your rhythm, your mornings, your goals. Step 1. Morning spark. Activate the day with intention. Howard started his day with a large glass of filtered water, before coffee, before breakfast, before anything else. That water jumpstarts digestion, circulation, and hydration. With that glass of water, he took benfotiamine, vitamin B1, 300 mg Mk7, vitamin K2, 180 mg. These two went first because they set the tone. The B1 begins fueling mitochondria, prepping your body to turn food into energy. The K2 starts working behind the scenes to direct calcium and keep arteries flexible. Pairing them with water helps absorption, and taking them before the day gets chaotic ensures you don't forget. Step 2. Breakfast with a purpose. Howard's breakfast was never fancy. Usually 2 poached eggs, a slice of avocado toast, and a small bowl of berries. But here's what matters. It had fat, protein, and color. The fats helped absorb his vitamin A supplement in the form of retinol palmitate, 3000 IU daily, which he took immediately after eating. You see, vitamins A and K2 are fat-soluble. Without some dietary fat, they won't get where they need to go. Eggs and avocado are perfect partners. He also added a teaspoon of olive oil to his toast, not for flavor, but to help absorption and support heart health. Small move, big impact. Step 3. Movement and morning light. After breakfast, Howard took a 20-minute walk. Nothing intense, no speed walking, just presence. Sometimes with his dog, sometimes alone. Why? Because movement boosts blood flow, which enhances how nutrients circulate. It also helps K2 work more effectively, and exposure to morning light sets his circadian rhythm, improves sleep later on, and stimulates natural hormonal balance. Step 4. Midday mindfulness. Around midday, Howard would pause for a check-in. Not a nap, not scrolling, just stillness. 5 to 10 minutes of breathing, reflection, or journaling. Why? Because stress is a silent nutrient thief. When you're anxious or tense, your body burns through B vitamins, including thiamine, at a faster rate. By grounding his nervous system, Howard protected the very nutrients he was investing in. Sometimes during this window, he'd snack on almonds or sunflower seeds, foods rich in vitamin E, which also supports hormonal health and helps buffer inflammation. Step 5. Evening nutrition and wind-down dinner was his time to reset. A plate built around lean protein like salmon, lentils, or chicken, 2 vegetables, and a complex carb like sweet potato or wild rice. This gave him fiber, antioxidants, and additional fat-soluble vitamins. He didn't take more supplements here, just food. Because when you fuel right at night, you recover better in sleep. Before bed, Howard would take 10 minutes to stretch or listen to calming music, again to lower cortisol and help his body actually use the nutrients he'd consumed that day. Now, was Howard perfect every day? No. Some mornings he forgot. Some nights he ate pizza with his grandson. But he always returned to the rhythm. And after just 1 month of consistency, he told me this: I feel like my body's cooperating again. Like the gears are moving in the right direction. That's the magic of consistency. Not perfection, just rhythm. You see, supplements are not the solution. You are. But these vitamins, they're the tools. And when used wisely, they don't just improve your lab numbers. They help you reclaim presence, performance, and peace. And if you're thinking this all sounds like too much to track, here's what I tell every man. Just tie each step to something you already do. Take supplements with your morning coffee. Walk while your favorite radio show plays. Add healthy fat to your favorite meal. Use your bedtime to slow down instead of zone out. Your vitality isn't hiding in a complex biohacking routine. It's in the moments you already live, when done with care, rhythm, and intention. Before we wrap this up, I want to slow things down for a moment and speak directly to you, not as a doctor, not as a health strategist, but as another man who has sat across from hundreds of others who thought it was too late. Men who carried quiet doubts behind confident smiles. Men who once led businesses, raised families, served communities, stood tall, and now found themselves wondering, where did my strength go? If that's you, hear this. You're not alone. You're not past your prime. You're not invisible. You are standing at a turning point, a quiet, powerful invitation to step back into your body and take back what life may have dulled, not destroyed. The men I've worked with over the past 28 years, they're not seeking to look 30 again. They're not chasing some fantasy of youth. They want something far more sacred. They want to feel like themselves again. They want to wake up with clarity, to stand tall in their relationships, to feel their body respond when they need it, to speak with conviction, to walk with purpose, and to know they're still in control, not of time, not of aging, but of how they show up every day despite it. And that, my friend, is still available to you. Throughout this video, we've uncovered the 3 forgotten vitamins that quietly support the pillars of male vitality. Vitamin K2, the circulatory key that keeps your arteries clean and your blood moving freely. Vitamin B1, the spark plug for energy, mental clarity, and cellular power. Vitamin A, the hormonal compass that supports testosterone, mood, and emotional strength. We've talked about the common mistakes that prevent these nutrients from working, the wrong forms, inconsistent routines, and lack of supportive habits. And most importantly, we built a simple daily protocol that can become part of your real life. Not a burden, not a gimmick, but a quiet act of self-respect you offer yourself each morning. But now comes the most important part, action. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. Most men won't do anything. They'll watch, they'll nod, they'll even agree, and then they'll forget. Because forgetting is easier than facing the quiet truth that something needs to change. But I don't believe that's you, because if you've stayed with me this far, that means you still believe there's more for you, and there is. So let me ask you, not as a professional, but as a fellow man who cares. What do you want the next 10 years of your life to feel like? Do you want to walk upstairs without stopping halfway? Do you want to feel your partner's touch and respond with confidence? Do you want to wake up with a clear head and a calm heart? Do you want to look at yourself in the mirror and say, he's still in there? You don't need to fight aging, but you do need to fight giving up. And fighting, in this case, doesn't look like pushing harder. It looks like choosing smarter. It looks like taking those 3 vitamins every day, going for that walk, drinking water first thing in the morning, saying yes to your vitality, even when it's quiet, even when no one else is watching, because that's where strength begins, not in how much you can lift, but in how much you're willing to reclaim. And now I want to make a gentle but important request. If this message meant something to you, if it reminded you that there's still time, still power, still fire inside you, then I'd like you to subscribe to this channel. Not because it helps us, because it helps you. This space is built for you, for men who want to age with dignity, energy, connection, and depth. And if that's who you are, or who you want to be, then this is your place. I'm not going to beg. I'm not going to offer tricks. Just this. If it moved you, join us. Because I have more to share. And because the road ahead is lighter when you're not walking alone. And if you feel like giving back, here's something else I'd love. Tell us your story. Tell us in the comments below. What part of this video hit home for you? What changes have you already made in your health? Or maybe, what's the one thing you miss about how you used to feel? Your story could be the exact thing another man needs to read to take his first step. This isn't just a video. This is a conversation, a quiet community of men who still care, who still want to be strong, not just in body, but in presence, in love, in purpose. So go ahead, be bold, leave your mark here. And before we close, let me remind you one last time, it's not too late, not even close. You still have time to feel better. You still have time to reconnect. You still have time to be the man you've always been. Not less, but more. More aware, more grounded, more you. Thanks for showing up today. I'll see you in the next video, and until then, take care of yourself. You matter more than you know.